What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical average American here today to react and continue learning about things only Canadians do. Part 2. If you haven't seen part 1, feel free to go check that out. Or, you know what, stay right here and watch part 2 before part 1. Or I won't tell you how to live your life, but I gotta say, what I will tell you is in part 1, I learned some stuff about Canada I didn't know that I needed to know. I don't know what if I walked away confused, perhaps even a little alarmed at some of the information I learned. Like in part 1, we were learning about the ketchup chips, of course. Why ketchup? Just explain to me, why ketchup flavored? I feel like a Canadian would just lean into me and be like, why not? Why not the ketchup flavor? And I'd be like, all right, I get it. Fair enough. But maybe it's just a little bit of American jealousy in me. It almost sounds like something Americans would really like, but it's like artificial ketchup flavor. Anyway, this is not a ketchup chip flavor video, kinda, but it's turning into one. But also some other things I learned about Canada was some of the attire in the winter. Some Canadians so acclimated to the cold, out there wearing shorts. Some of the footage they showed in the news honestly seemed like delivery workers and postal workers, like putting on the shorts in the dead of winter. Honestly, respect. Like, honestly, deep respect. What else did we have? We had the Caesar, making this Canadian sort of drink, the Caesar, with clam juice in it. I don't know about all that. I'm sure it's quite good. I've never had one. And then another one was Santa. That was actually real wholesome. Like, children can write kind of Santa Claus letters to the North Pole in Canada, and there's actually a Canadian service that will write back to them as Santa Claus. So that was actually pretty nice. So I don't know really what to expect here in part 2 with things only Canadians do, but I am intrigued and I am being very, very, very entertained. So let's see what comes up next.
Number 5, make unencumbered visits to Cuba.
Yeah, okay. Right on cue. Something I don't really understand. Make unencumbered visits to Cuba? Like vacation? Are Canadians vacationing to Cuba? Is that what?
Contrary to popular belief, residents of the United States are actually allowed to travel to Cuba if you're willing to jump through a series of hoops to get there.
Oh.
But due to the U.S. embargo on Cuba, tourism hasn't been permitted for years.
Okay.
The U.S., fearing communism's expansion, sets up the embargo to strangle Cuba's economy.
Canadians, however, have not had any such restrictions. Cuba is often cited.
Oh, okay. Gosh, this is a little before, like, my time. I don't even know much about American-Cuba relations, let alone Canadian-Cuba relations. But it sounds like Canada has a much better relationship, and it's obviously like a beautiful like place to visit, to vacation. So yeah, my gut instinct was right. Canadians vacation to Cuba because they have a good relationship. Okay. I think I get it.
Cited as one of the most popular destinations for Canadians who wish to escape the cold winter months.
Okay.
Canadians
Okay.
enter and leave Cuba at twice the rate of any other nationality, including Cubans themselves, which gives some idea of just how dominant they are in the Cuban tourist market.
Wait, Canadians are actually like the biggest tourist market for Cuba. That is extraordinarily random to me. It makes like sense, but it's very random at the same time. Like, Canadians love to vacation to Cuba. It's like, okay, I'm surprised. I didn't know that, but okay.
Market.
Most major airports have direct flights, and countless inexpensive, all-inclusive packages have made it easy for Canadians to enjoy beaches, sun, and, if interested, cigars in this Caribbean destination.
Oh, the old Cuban cigars. Yeah, it's like, it's in the Caribbean. Actually, I didn't know that much about Cuba, but just seeing these clips, it seems like a really awesome place to vacation to.
Lending the traditions of Spain, Africa, and its native peoples, and lit by the fires of independence and revolution. The aromas, textures, and flavors of this Caribbean nation are like no other.
Okay.
Number 4.
Cool.
Celebrate Thanksgiving in October.
Celebrate Thanksgiving in October. Oh man, it's been a while. I have heard this one. It's been a while. Gosh, a long while. But this really shocked me. I'm getting like re-shocked right now. Like, that's right. Canadian Thanksgiving is a different date than when Americans celebrate Thanksgiving. That's also incredibly random to me. I don't even know why that is. I watched some video about it many months ago. And according to that video, like, Thanksgiving was actually created by Canadians, if I'm remembering correctly.
A holiday to celebrate the harvest is fairly common around the world.
Right.
But in modern media, we often hear about American Thanksgiving in November and the Black Friday sales and chaos that follow.
Well, turkey's burnt. Potatoes are ruined, potatoes are ruined, potatoes are ruined.
For Canadians, the same Thanksgiving holiday is actually celebrated in October.
Right.
Oh, right, I forgot. You guys are weird. You pronounce the word out.
Seemingly originating in 1579 during Martin Frobisher's excursion to find the Northwest Passage, it slowly evolved as the years passed, often dubbed Canadian Thanksgiving to distinguish it from its U.S. counterpart. Canada is not
Canadian Thanksgiving. Huh. I assume Canadians just refer to it as Thanksgiving. And Americans, I swear, don't know about Canadian Thanksgiving. Like, I did not know for sure until I randomly, like, decided to go out of my way and learn about it. So, who's out here even calling it Canadian Thanksgiving? Maybe Canadians do, because it's, like, on a different day. I don't even know if does the rest of the earth celebrate Thanksgiving? I mean, the narrator was kind of talking about a lot of harvest holidays around the world. This has just got me kind of thinking off on a tangent, honestly.
not the only country that celebrates it in October.
The thing is, it's basically the exact same holiday, except earlier.
Grenada, St. Lucia, and even Germany celebrate similar festivals that same month.
Oh, there you go. Wow, they kind of answered my question. There's, like, lots of countries all over the world that celebrate Thanksgiving on different days. That I didn't even realize.
And honestly, it's nice to have a longer break between this giant meal and the one in December.
Is it better to have Thanksgiving 1 month before Christmas, that the Americans do, or is it better to have it two months before, as Canada does?
Oh, that's a really interesting question. I'm a little distracted by their Tim's mugs. They're funny, like, very unintentionally Canadian, the Tim's mugs there. But yeah, Thanksgiving in America is really like the warm-up to Christmas season. And it's very much associated with that feeling. Whereas in Canada, being in October, closer to Halloween, honestly, I kind of like it because it gives Thanksgiving a little more breathing room, like it's its own entity, its own event. And like, I actually like it being further from Christmas. I mean, that's just my kind of weird American opinion on it, looking at it from the outside.
Number 3, are sorry about being sorry. Ask virtually anyone around the globe to describe a Canadian, and they'll likely use one word: friendly. Canucks are widely considered some of the friendliest people in the world.
Yes. Classic Canadians being looked at as friendly. Again, I think I've said this before, I'd love to see like a study done. At this point, this has been so like not blown out of proportion, but maybe correctly blown into proportion, if that makes any sense. I'd love to see a study of like, I don't know how they do it, but how friendly are Canadians on average compared to every other country around the world? Like, is there a measurable difference in friendliness? I don't know how they'd measure this. Maybe it'd be the speed at which a Canadian will open the door for you to help you out, and compared to Americans that'll just let it slam shut in your face, and then you have a bit of a study on your hands.
Oh, sorry there. Didn't see ya. You okay?
I'm fine.
Okay. Sorry about that.
So friendly, in fact, that we've been stereotyped for apologizing for almost anything and everything.
Yes.
It's become such an ingrained part of Canadian culture that the Ontario government had to pass the Apology Act of 2009, which stated that an apology does not automatically comprise an admission of guilt.
Well, this is a muggy.
Oh my gosh, no way. No way that is a thing. Canadians were so apt to apologize for events where they don't need to apologize, they're just being polite, that there had to be a law, at least in Ontario, about, okay, that doesn't mean you're actually admitting you're guilty, because Canadians are apt to apologize for things that they haven't even necessarily done anything wrong. That is funny, honestly. That kind of says it all right there, doesn't it?
So, what? Yeah, I'm sorry about that. If I could just get that wallet right there.
It's one of the more quirky aspects of Canadian culture that certainly distinguishes us from other countries.
It's funny because I think as far as stereotypes go, that's not the number one stereotype. Like in America, Americans stereotyping Canadians. Mostly the stereotype is that Canadians say A and live in the cold and like maple syrup. The whole sorry apologizing thing, that's kind of like lower down on the stereotype list, to be honest, if I'm thinking about it that way.
Who shall remain nameless. Sorry, we're just too polite to call them out.
We say it correct. Sorry. I think that they just don't know how to say it because they never do it, or they just like blame it on the nearest person and or country. They just do that.
Number 2.
Oh yes, we love to blame. Well, okay, that reminds me. I think a Canadian stereotype is the way Canadians say sorry as sorry. And not that they say it all the time, even if they say it more than other people. Anyway, small difference.
Number 2, buy milk in bags.
Oh!
At one time, the milkman came to your house and dropped off your bottles of milk.
This one, again, is not all that well known by Americans, funny enough. Like that, the milk in the bags. And I've learned a bit about the Canadian milk in the bags. It is something only Canadians do, so it definitely satisfies the criteria here. But from what I understand, not all of Canada has their milk in bags. That's not something that is just like all over Canada. Every Canadian is experiencing this. It's just some parts. So a small distinction there. I'm here to really clear up the misconceptions today with some of the stuff I know about, at least.
Oh, it's only the milkman. Hey, maybe I should be a milkman.
As cartons became the norm, people got used to buying them in stores. For Canadians, the shift from the imperial measuring system to metric also brought something new.
That being said, I will never get used to seeing milk in a bag. That just looks bizarre. Like, truly bizarre.
Milk in bags.
What is... Yeah, like he's doing. You get this urge to, like, poke it and slap it. You ever just stand around in your kitchen poking your bag of milk? Yeah, me neither. For sure. Me neither.
What do you mean? Why? Why would you put it in a bag?
As companies were shifting all of their containers to new sizes, milk bags were easy to change. Quickly enough, bagged milk became quite popular and is still widely used today. Canadians aren't the only ones who use it either.
You know, if you want to save some for yourself, you can always just kind of...
No, dude, come on.
Like sucking on a teat. Quite literally, actually.
China, Israel, South Africa, and even Argentina all make use of the arguably more environmentally friendly container.
I didn't know that. Other countries around the world do the bagged milk. That's interesting. I mean, I think I learned because of liters. You can't really buy a liter very easily in a carton. But bags are and they're more environmentally friendly, I guess.
But cut that corner hole too big and you are in for an utterly disastrous bowl of morning shreddies.
Okay.
Your milk comes in bags.
Before we continue, be sure to be notified. Switch on Anthem in...
Okay.
Number 1, sing national anthem in both languages.
Ah! I would never have thought about this, but it makes sense. This makes total sense now that I hear it. Because of, like French is literally, like, mandated by the Canadian government to be, like, an official language of Canada, so it makes complete sense.
Fun fact, the original O Canada national anthem was actually written in French and then translated to English in 1906.
Really?
O Canada, our home and native land.
And since then, the lyrics of the anthem have been updated occasionally to reflect the changing times.
Well, is the anthem sang in both English and French at sporting events? I bet it is. I bet you it is. Or, like, does it depend on the province that the event is in? If you're just at a hockey game in a random province that's not Quebec, would it just be sung in English? Or does it have to be sung in English and French? I know in Canada, like, basically all the signage has to be English and French. So I wouldn't be surprised if the anthem does too.
But one thing that hasn't changed is how both English and French are frequently intermixed during public performances.
Okay. Interesting. Do all Canadians know the French version? Like, are you taught that in school? The French and English version? I wonder.
Often sung at sporting and other major events, it is fairly common for some portions of the anthem to be sung in English, then switch to French or vice versa, and then back several times.
Oh, you kind of alternate. You don't sing the entire thing in English, then the entire thing in French. That actually is a bit more practical, huh?
I like to call this the hockey version. Given how both are official languages of the Great White North, it's a small way to showcase how the country leverages both of these great languages.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy this video?
I did enjoy that, now that the narrator mentions it. That was very, very enjoyable, and a lot of interesting facts about Canada, and things only Canadians do that I did not know about. Although I just realized they literally admitted the whole bagged milk thing. Other countries do that, so that kind of violates the sacredness of the things only Canadians do. But 9 out of 10 of these were very, very, very Canadian. This was by WatchMojo.com, and I liked it. I liked that quite a bit. That was very entertaining. I think it's one of the most fun things about, let's just say, cultures around the world, that there is stuff that only exists in certain places. And Canada certainly has its fair share of quirky, lovable, sometimes disturbing things that only Canada does. And I think that's so fantastic and such a cool thing about our different cultures. So I enjoyed this. Anyway, if you enjoyed this as well, feel free to give this video a like or leave a comment, perhaps with if you know other weird things that only Canadians do. And if you're interested in more videos like this, me reacting to Canada and Canadian culture, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching, and see you next time.